Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, discussing all things audiobooks with the authors that write the stories and the narrators that perform them. Brought to you by Viviana, Enchantress of Books.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Podcast. Today, I am chatting with narrator Ramona Masters. Welcome, Ramona. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm excited to chat with you.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been narrating, and how you got started?
So I started in 2015. I had just had a child a little bit before, and I had been doing theater for years and years and years, and I lived in Chicago. Now I live outside of Chicago, but you get paid peanuts doing theater in Chicago. You get paid nothing, and they expect so much of you. It's not a union town for theater. So I just decided I would give the theater up because I didn't really have another choice. And I could not give up acting. So I set up a recording booth in a closet in my old house, and I started doing commercial voiceover. And I was doing the pay-to-play websites where you have to, pay a fee to join the website, and they'll give you auditions. And they're not great.
No.
I wouldn't advise them for aspiring voiceover people. However, I did get my first audiobook gigs through those websites, and they actually did pay really well. And that was sort of my jumping point, was a set of 5 romance audiobooks that they described as like sweet romances, but they were not sweet romances. They were very dirty romances. and now here I am. What is it? 7 years later? Oh my gosh. Time flies.
I was just about to say that, how time flies. Yeah. and things improve and all that fun stuff. I love it when authors provide that description of like, oh, it's sweet. And I'm like, well, what's your or some say, oh, it's spicy. I'm like, well, what's your definition of spicy or sweet and stuff like that? Because for some, it's like, oh my God, that was so spicy. And others, the reviews will bust out with, it didn't have enough smut and all that fun stuff. So I'm like, we all need to figure out the definitions first.
Yeah, like these books, it said sweet, but it was totally just like 50 Shades of Grey style. Like it was very like BDSM, kink stuff, which I don't care. But thinking that doesn't fall. Like,
yeah, that doesn't fall in. I mean, even though he might be very nice and the couple might be super sweet, that's BDSM does not fall into that category.
And I had never read 50 Shades of Grey, so I had never really read any romance novels at that point. Ooh. So when I was going into it thinking that it was going to be sweet, and then it was very much like nipple clamps and like, oh my God. But
welcome to romance.
Exactly. It was a christening, we'll say. And
you jumped in head first.
Exactly.
And
it paid for my new kitchen floor. So
sweet.
That was great.
Yeah. Did you often look at those floors and go, nipple clamps, got it, not so bad, okay.
Well, we sold that house just shortly after. So, I as I think about the new house that we're living in, that's when I'm like, oh, nipple clamps. Oh, this that helps me sell that last house, those nipple clamps. So.
Yeah, romance can help in many different ways.
Exactly.
Well, so you had not read anything before, and here you are 7 years later, completely totally involved in it, immersed in it, from contemporaries to all sorts of different genres for you. Do you find that you have a favorite genre within romance to narrate?
I really like sassy, funny, contemporary romance. I really like a slow burn. If the two people are either friends to lovers or enemies to lovers, but it takes a really long time to get there. I love that. I feel like the payoff is so good at the end. So I really like that, but I also really like doing really dark stuff, like kidnapping and like mafia and those kind of things. I like the dark emotional stuff too.
Yeah, it's something for everybody, which is one of the
Mm-hmm.
reasons why I love the genre. And it's interesting too, because even within some of those genres, like it used to just be mobsters, and you would automatically think, okay, there might be a kidnapping. Someone offended the family years ago, and now the vendetta has occurred. But they're going dark.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, like dark, you know, and not Speed of Black dark. I'm talking about like a lot, from psychological traumas and to physicals and stuff like that. And the warnings are always good to have them in advance for the trigger warnings, because you never know nowadays. But they can be fun too for those that enjoy it.
I love that stuff, the psychological stuff where you're like, oh, so that's why she's crazy about getting vengeance because she had this trauma, or like that's why she wants this bad boy because in her, you know, when she was a kid, she had this example. You know, I love that stuff.
Yeah. Kind of almost makes me wonder, like, where are the psychological romance thrillers? You know, those are probably in there, like, that's technically dark romance. I'm like, okay, got it.
Yeah.
In these 7 years, how has your process evolved from that moment of getting cast to when you're done with the files? Like, what have you learned?
I mean, like, I knew nothing when I did those first books, and I was very upfront. I've never done an audiobook before, but I really want to. And I knew nothing. So my process has evolved so much. I mean, those first books, I didn't know what punch and roll was. I was working in an upstairs closet for the first book in that clump, and I was like, I can't do this. I hear everything. I hear every car that drives by, every bird. So I have just progressively gotten like deeper and deeper into seclusion until now I have a booth that I bought in my house. I know how to do punch and roll. I have much better equipment, everything. I didn't read the books beforehand for those first ones. And now that is certainly not the case any longer. I just feel like everything's different, and I would certainly not recommend doing what I did. I would say know something about audiobooks before you just jump in. Everything has changed about my process.
Well, that's good. I mean, there's always something, you know, you have to evolve and learn and things like that. So question now becomes, are you the color coding spreadsheet kind of a girl, or you're one of those like you highlight just 1 or 2 colors and then that's it kind of a thing?
So when I look at my manuscripts, when I do my first read, I will write a list of all the characters. I don't do any highlighting. I just write out a list of all the characters and then just put like a little like shorthand about who they are in relationship to the central character. And then I'll probably like cast them as either, you know, a famous actor or a friend of mine, somebody in my life. And that's about all the prep that I do. Just read through the manuscript and then sort of make sure I know who each of the characters are. If I have a picture in my head about who that character is, then I can like lock into it and just know when I get to those characters in my recording, yes, that's Hugh Grant. That's I don't know. I can't think of anybody else. Chris Pine. Who knows?
Got it. Also with the accents, I know sometimes it's important. That's why it's important to prep rather, because sometimes, you know, it doesn't get said until chapter 7 that he has an accent of fill in the blank. Do you have a favorite accent to perform?
Well, I am half Colombian, so I like to do various Latin accents because I feel like it comes naturally and I can just, think of that half of my family. So I like doing those. I'm not like the accent queen like some people. I think of some audiobook narrators I know who are just like jukeboxes with their accents, just like bam, bam, I can do it all. Irish, English, Australian, I can do everything. I'm not that person. Frankly, my 10-year-old son is much better at accents than I am. And sometimes I'll, like, if I have like a little character with an accent, I'll go over to him.
No.
Okay, how would you say this with an Irish accent? And he'll just do it. And I'll be like, oh, okay, yes, I got it. And yeah, so.
Well, you got to use your resources.
Exactly.
And you're all set there. That's who needs Google, for that. Oh my God, that is so cute and adorable.
He watches so much soccer and he hears all of the different accents on the broadcasts. And he just he has an ear for it.
So with being half Colombian, are you also then bilingual as far as speaking Spanish?
I'm not bilingual, but I'm trying to be. So I grew up in Massachusetts and my mother was literally the only ethnic person in our area. Like there was nobody else. So she tried to teach my older brother and he went to school when he was in like kindergarten or first grade and said some words in Spanish and he got teased for it. And he said, I'm never speaking Spanish again. And she just gave up trying to teach us. So I am now, and then I took Latin in high school.
Oh God!
I don't know why I took Latin. Of all things. But I know it's so stupid. So then, like now, I am trying to learn Spanish. I have a tutor every week teaching me, and I'm just very, very shy about it, and I have to get past that. So, yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I speak it, but it's very conversational. And when it comes down to reading and writing it, I am that of a 5-year-old where I'm sounding everything out and I'm going, los pollitos dicen pío, pío, pío. Yeah, because it took me half an hour to read a paragraph. So I understand. Yeah. Even though we were living in Miami, which was completely immersive in Spanish culture, the rule was English outside the house and Spanish in the house. And, you spent 8 days out and stuff like that, even though, because of school, 8 hours a week, so on and so forth. But I always had issues with some of the rules as far as the accents and the sounds some of these letters make. So that's the other thing too that I'm going, yeah, Spanish can be easy, but when you're like, is that a J sound or a K sound? That's what gets you tripped up. So then are you practicing that at home too then to kind of get yourself more immersed?
Yes. It's something I've been really working hard toward. Like it's one of those things that with the pandemic, having extra time, the woman who tutors me, she started doing Zoom lessons. So I was like, okay, I'm taking this opportunity now during the pandemic with all this time. And I'm working really hard toward it. And it's just so important to me to not lose all of that, to not let that part of my heritage and my culture, to not let that just slide by the wayside. So yeah, I'm working very hard on that. And I do it like I can do Spanish in audiobooks, and I frequently do, especially under my other name, the other name that I narrate under, because I can like read it with no problem, and I have like a decent general sounding Spanish accent when speaking in Spanish. But yeah, the I am conversational with my Spanish, but I just get so timid.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I mean, to this day, sometimes it'll come out, and I still remember having those, because you're also at the end of the day, you are bilingual. Especially as you know more languages, your brain starts trying to figure out, okay, you're speaking in English, but this one word that you want to say next, we're going to say it in Spanish. And or you're in Spanish mode and you're like, well, that one word you're going to say it in English. And I'm like, Spanish, fence. And I'm like, and my mom's looking at me like, what? I go, I don't remember how to say fence in Spanish. So things like that. Yeah, they would make fun of me all the time. But, you know, you live and you learn. But I love the fact that you do narrate in Spanish. And I think it's also, you are a perfect example of the diversity and the variety within the Spanish culture. Because I think that, wow, it's still great that we are learning to be more inclusive and people are writing these characters in. Not every individual that is Latin or of Latin descent has a Mexican accent.
Right.
Yeah. And so and so I think that that's important too.
Yeah. And you know, I struggled a lot growing up because I don't look particularly Latin. Like I look more like my father's side, which is Finnish. And having just a neutral American accent, not really speaking Spanish when I was younger, and not really looking it, I felt like I didn't have the right to claim my heritage.
Oh, no.
Which is so stupid.
Yeah.
But, you know, in like the 90s, like I just feel like we thought differently about these things. And I don't know. It's just nice now that there's more celebration of it.
Yeah.
At least in certain circles.
Yeah. Well, I will say, I think that there was, even within the community as well, there was a lot of people that would look down upon those first generation Americans of Latin parents, because especially back in those days, our parents were very much about immersing us in the American culture because they lived here. And so there's a lot of stuff that was lost in that, whether it was the language or the history or the culture of sorts. And you were then also looked at as not being Latin enough.
Right.
And that's something too that happens in other cultures where you're not Asian enough or you're not Pacific, all this other stuff. And just because either you come from a mixed back. Yeah. And that's not cool. But I'm glad that we're having those conversations more and more, and the authors are including a diverse group of characters in their books, and they're asking for, we need a Latina narrator, or we need a African American narrator, we need an Asian Pacific narrator, and all this stuff. And that's really great.
I agree.
Plus, of course, cursing and saying some lovely, loving words in different languages is always a plus, especially in romance. It's just something about saying certain things in Spanish that especially that works so well in romance books. both when you're pissed off and when you're in the sexy times. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you were talking about having the romantic comedies and the sassy characters and stuff like that as a favorite. Is there a type of scene in a book, regardless of the genre, that you really truly love doing, whether it's that first time that they meet, or maybe the sexy times, or the banter?
So I would say that my favorite, as I mentioned, I like the slow burn. I would say the scene like before the sexy times comes, when they're like really fighting it, when they really don't want anything to happen yet, but it's like there, and the tension is there, and the sexual magnetism is like pulling them together, but they're not giving into. Yeah, I just love that. I love that, like, just kiss, come on, just do it. And then they don't.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah, that is true. That's always happening.
Because you know it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's sooner or later it's gonna happen. But I know sometimes authors, I wonder sometimes as authors that write those slow burns that are like, ha ha ha, got you, next chapter.
Totally. And I don't know. There's just something that I just love so much about it. I love it.
Yeah. One of the things that a lot of the narrators out in the social media have been doing have been either sharing bloopers when the words get teased in the tongue and they get stuck on something and fuckity fuck comes out because nothing else does. Or realizing that you've been saying a word wrong or incorrectly for a long, long time. Do you find that
Mhm.
you find yourself also having some of those moments, whether you're having a blooper, and if you do you record them, or anything like what's a word that has tripped you up in these lovely sentences author books?
I watch a lot of those blooper clips, and I feel like I stop myself before I get to the point where like I'll hear the error before I would get a chance to like film it. Like I've often thought like, oh, should I do that too? Because I certainly mess up all the time, but I just I don't know. Like I stop myself before I think it would be like it wouldn't get to the funny point. I'm trying to think of words because there have definitely been words where I'm like, um, uh, I can't think of any good words. I mean, the only one that comes to my mind is tumult,
TUM.
which like you could say t. So like tumultuous would be the adjective, but like the noun tumult, it's pronounced tumult and
Oh.
not tumult.
Hmm.
Which that was one that I was like, really? Huh? So I would say that's one, but that's such a lame example.
No, those are good. I mean, it's one of those things where there are a
Okay.
lot of words that we sometimes think that we're saying correctly and we're not. Or also, I think sometimes it's where where you're from, where you've been living for the most parts, if you've only heard it a
Mm-hmm.
specific way. So now that we're significantly more global than a couple of years ago, I think a lot of times that happens. We're like, wait, how do you say that word? Oh no, we over here say it like this.
Yeah.
And over there you say it like that. And then Canada comes in, Steve, in there and with how he says it. And then of course Gary Furlong has to jump in there. I love those guys. They're great.
Mm-hmm.
They're fun. And so it always becomes a hoot. I'm going, oh, okay. That's how we're gonna say it. Let's see if I can remember how to do that next time. Jeez. Because you learn, but at the same time you only hear it once. Or how often do I use tumultuous?
Mm-hmm.
Come on,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially as the noun.
Yeah.
Like, never.
I don't think I've ever used it. Jesus. Anyways. Yeah.
But you're going to use it now.
I'm going to look up the definition, make sure that I have it in the right context, because that's also important. And then I'm going to see if today the opportunity comes up to use that. And I will send you a note saying, I did it.
Exactly.
I used it. That would be my social media post. No one other than you until this airs will know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm going to hashtag it. If you know, you know. And then we're going to have drinks over that at Allure, which you'll be attending in September. So I'm so excited for that.
Yes.
Yeah. Is this your first convention?
Very excited about it. So I was supposed to go to Book Bonanza in this past month in Texas.
Yeah.
And my husband woke up with a terrible cold the day I was supposed to leave.
Oh.
And I was like, is it COVID? And I just felt like I couldn't leave. So I had to cancel. I've gone to some other like small conventions in Chicago that were mostly more geared towards writers. But this is my first like big audio. Yes, this is so. Yes, the short answer is yes. This is my first.
Well, it is a first of its kind too, because a lot of times narrators have gone to events just to kind of check it out, or they'll get invited by their author to attend with them and kind of share a table. But this is completely, utterly focused on the audiobooks. And, both the authors and the narrators are both the stars of this versus how sometimes inclusive of Book Bonanza, it was majority just of the authors. Oh yeah. And by the way, narrators are here too. You know what I mean? But I'm bummed that you didn't get a chance to go, because it looked like it was a lot of fun for everybody that attended. Man, husband, when they get sick, they're no fun. They're no help. But I'm glad that he's feeling better.
I was so excited. Yes, I was so excited for it because one of the events was a table read of the Netflix pilot episode of Sex Life, which was the based on the 44 Chapters books by B.B. Easton that I narrated. And I was going to read the central character in this table read thing. And I was so excited to do it. And I couldn't.
Oh,
so,
no.
Them's the breaks.
Oh, we'll have to get you to do it at a lore then. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's going to be such a fun thing. I know that a lot of the narrators are excited. They're also a little bit nervous because, for many of us, and myself included, it will be the first big event that, we've done in many years in the past at least in the past 2.5.
Many years.
Yeah. It seems like many years, doesn't it? So I'm like, it's only been 10.5, baby. It's only been 10.5, but yes, many moons have gone and come. But yeah.
Yeah, I am looking forward to it so much. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, and it's not so far for you then, because you live on the outskirts, you said, right?
No, not far at all.
Okay, yeah. See.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the traffic. If there's a lot of traffic, it's like an hour and a half. If there's no traffic, it's 20 minutes.
Nice. Yeah, we have that here too. It happens everywhere. That's good to know. Sometimes you're like, God dang it, Florida, of all the other things, this too. But yeah, it's never as bad as it has been in other cities, like in Miami. When they say sitting in traffic, you're literally sitting there for a while. Here, at least we move 7 miles an hour, but we move. So, wow. So you'll be traveling back and forth, or are you actually making it like a long week, like a weekend kind of a thing and staying?
I think I'm going to be traveling back and forth. I'm not totally committed to that yet, but that's what I think I'm going to be doing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's always fun to kind of see that when we get the logos. I have a friend that's maybe about an hour's drive away, and she's going to come in and stay for the event. But I'm like, girl, I love you, right? I'm going to ship you all my stuff. Because taking it on the airplane is not going to happen. She's like, sure. Yeah. It's going to be so much fun again. And do you have any of the authors that you've narrated? Yeah. See, so you get to, will that be your first time meeting them in person?
Yeah, I have to look through the list again. I feel like it's always changing and updating.
Yeah, we keep getting more new ones.
I'm trying to remember who I should. But yeah, I've met like. I feel like I've met like 2 authors that I've narrated for in my career. So, yeah, I am just looking forward to meeting some of these narrators who I've worked with.
True.
And never met in person. Like. I think about these men who I've done like duet and dual narrations with, and like the things we've said to each other, and I've never even met them. So I'm excited about that to meet these people.
Yeah, then get to meet your peers and like, oh yeah, hey, that's how you sound like off the microphone. Got it. Yes, because that's the other thing too. We're used to hearing you guys on the mics. And, and I know that you guys think all you guys do this. There is a normal talking voice, and then it's oh, look, there's a mic. Sit up straight. There's a little bit of a lower tone, and it's like, oh,
that's totally true.
Yep.
As much as I don't want to admit that, it's totally true.
Well, it goes back to that whole, it's a profession. I mean, we mumble in real life conversations. Some of us may have lisps and things like that. Or we talk really, really fast, which is not a good thing for audiobooks. We don't want that in our books. Right. So, I mean, people speed up the things anyways, but that's different than if the narrator were to speak Speedy Gonzalez it. And for those that don't get that reference, Google it, okay? Andale. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to meeting you there and hanging out and getting to know all the other narrators and authors that are there that we've either listened to and completely fallen in love with, and then also the authors that have given us these stories that we have also fallen in love with. So it'll be fun.
Totally.
So aside from the working and the momming and the wifing and all that adulting stuff, when you're not working, what do you do for fun?
I'm obsessed with The Real Housewives. So I love to watch all the Real Housewives shows. I love to like follow it on social media and
Oh,
like I'm
wow.
just crazy for it. I don't know why. I think it's really because it's all stories about women and you
Mm-hmm.
just can't find that anyplace else. Stories about women. And I feel like I need a hobby. I need a real hobby right now. I feel like I play Animal Crossing on Nintendo, which is so silly. Um, but I want to take up a good hobby like cross stitch or
Mm-hmm.
like knitting or I don't know. I need to
Yeah.
do something like that because right now I feel like I don't know what to say my hobby would be. I used to paint. I don't
Mm.
paint anymore. I feel like modern life gets in the way, especially now that not that the pandemic's over, but that it's like
Little,
less and
yes.
we're expected to go out and do stuff again. Now I'm like, who has the time for a hobby? There's just so much to do.
Yeah. Or as soon as you sit down to potentially learn what that hobby may entail, in many cases you'll
Hmm.
have the mom, or or the can I have this? I'm like, we live in a
Yeah.
two-parent household, dear. Go ask your dad. Um, and then of course, dad, go ask your mother. And I'm like, damn it.
Exactly.
Sound familiar, folks? But yeah, I mean, life gets in the way, but also I
Hmm.
think that we are really bad at giving ourselves the permission to do it. Because you're like you said it, life is busy, we have stuff to do. No, we don't. It's okay to give ourselves an
Hmm.
hour a day to figure out if we actually like, cross stitching or knitting or painting
Right.
again or anything like that. And I
Yeah.
say this as I struggle with it as well, but still it's okay. We have to do it. It's we need to learn. Sooner or later these kids are going to
Hmm.
grow up and they're going to move out and we're going to be like, I don't know, or retirement happens and yeah.
Yeah.
So it's important to have that me time.
Hmm.
So okay, so homework between now and
Yeah.
and Allure, you're going to
Okay.
give me an update on what you're finding to spend time on for you and a hobby that you learned, or at least you've committed to. Okay, I realize that crocheting is something I'm really interested in. Okay. And then
Yeah. I'm gonna
that
do
way.
it.
Good. Okay. Holding you accountable. Sometimes
It's
that's the
good
only way to do
homework.
it, though.
Yeah.
That's the only way to do it
Exactly.
sometimes for some of us. I have a friend that checks in
I
all the time.
know.
Like, where's your self-care? I'm like, I'm going to do it this weekend.
Mhm.
All right. So there's your homework. Yeah. Good.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm keeping you to it, girl. I'm
Mhm.
keeping you to it. But so it seems like I like giving homework because I also give you guys as my guests some homework as well. It's
Mhm.
only because I don't like to put you on the spot. But we're going to
Mhm.
play a game called Two Truths and a Lie, where you're going to tell us 3 things about yourself, and we're going to try to figure out of which of those 3 is the lie. So whenever
Okay.
you're ready.
Okay. Number 1. I dog sat for Keegan Michael Key. Number 2. I had a small part on Just the 10 of Us when I was young. Number 3. My husband booked a commercial VO before I did.
Asshole. Kidding. Okay. Wow. Okay. Is the lie the husband booked the commercial VO before you did?
No. Okay. Let me tell you this story. This is
Okay.
heartbreaking to me. So my husband is a lawyer, not even like a courtroom lawyer. He's like a transactional, like contract lawyer in finance.
Oh
And
gosh.
when we were first married and I was really just starting to get into voiceover and like doing some of my first voiceover auditions for my agent, she was like, okay, so we have a Culver's commercial. Culver's, it's like a burger place in the
Yeah.
Midwest. And it's for a man and a woman. Do you have any guy who could read it with you? You like the only condition is if they get booked, they have to just do the booking through our agency. So my husband was like, okay, I guess I'll do it. So we did the audition together and he booked it, but I didn't.
Oh no.
So he like left his lawyer job at lunchtime and went and like recorded this Culver's commercial. And it was incredibly uncomfortable for him. And they made him, he was supposed to like be eating something and be like, and he said they made him eat yogurt and then like think sexy things. And he was like, just beside himself, wearing his like business suit, recording a commercial voiceover.
Oh my God.
That is a truth.
Okay.
Yes. That's a truth.
You need to mess with him and say, hey, honey, I have this duet narration that I have to do. And there's this one scene
oh my God.
that's really going that I need your help. At least can you just read the lines? You're not going to get cast in this like in the other thing. Thank you. But I need you just to read the lines and just record him. Oh my God.
He would be beside himself. Oh my God. He would not even say some of this stuff.
That's the funny part. All right. So the other options we had was dog sat for, I'm going to kill the name.
Keegan-Michael Key. Keegan-Michael Key. Do you know who that is? Keegan-Michael Key?
No, I don't.
Do you remember, so Jordan, do you know who Jordan Peele is?
Probably if I see, or if I...
He directed the movie that just came out, Nope. And he directed what were the names are escaping me right now. His two big ones, the one where the oh gosh, I'm gonna look it up right now on my computer. Jordan Peele. So they had a show called Key and Peele. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, found them. Yep. See, I recognize the face.
There you go.
Okay.
Get Out. Get Out was his big one. The very big one.
Oh, there's Keegan-Michael Key. Got him. Yeah, I know who. Not see, the name just escaped me, but yes, I know who he is. Yeah. So you dog sat for him, or you had a small part in 10 of Us.
Just the 10 of Us.
Just the 10 of Us. I want to say The Lie is a small part in Just the 10 of Us.
Yeah. I mean, after I just went on about so specifically about who Keegan-Michael Key was.
Well, honestly,
Just the 10 of Us was The Lie.
Yeah. I mean, I could have put in there Brad Pitt, and I would have been like, Legends of the Falls, and
yeah.
So if you're a fan, you're a fan. You can totally sub it. Okay, but you sat, you dog sat for him. Wow. Okay. Dog sitting is always fun.
And house sat. I house and dog sat for he and his then wife, because a good friend of mine studied with the wife, and she and I were moving to Chicago, so she got us a gig house sitting and dog sitting for Keegan-Michael Key and his wife.
Nice. Hey, that's always makes a great story. But
exactly.
Oh my God, and the husband with the voiceover. Oh yeah, this is where I like to mess with the significant others and the friends when they do that. I'm like, read the line with me, babe, just to see the reaction. Even if it never gets shared, just for your own internal giggles,
Yeah.
You have to keep us. If you do that, keep me posted. Just for the reaction, because your laughter was just so awesome from that perspective. I'm like, oh. But isn't it interesting how when it comes down to those commercials, the first thing they tell you to do is like, think of something sexy.
Yeah.
To get those, I'm like,
I know, seriously.
Yeah. Goodness. Yeah. Oh my God. And that's the thing too, when you're narrating, you're going with it, you're kind of reading through, you're acting it out. But I don't think you ever stop to think of, I'm going to think of something sexy, because that's what you have to kind of already be in the mood that you're doing the sexy stuff.
Right. I mean, that like defeats the purpose of like acting if you have to like, and the commercial stuff is different, but like, you got to be in the moment when you're doing the audiobook narration.
See, I would have been like, if you gave me an actual Culver burger, I probably would be able to do this significantly more realistic versus yogurt.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. Oh, we've gotten Culvers here in Orlando, and oh my God, people went nuts when it first started. They started popping up in the different little places, and they're good. So
I love it.
Or was like, because I have friends in the Midwest and in California, and they're like about this and that. I'm going, no, not here yet. And then boom, like, okay, now I know about Culver's, and yeah, it's good. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that was fun. And got to know you. Yeah, hubby. Is he going to the convention? Sorry.
He's gonna be in the city because he might be getting dual citizenship to Italy that day. So
Oh, wow.
we'll see. Yeah, he's he and my son are both applying for birthright dual citizenship to Italy.
Wow.
So we'll see. They'll be in the city. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah. Like, hey, honey, look, you remember that first gig that you got? Come on over. See what you could have been. You could have been working from home and doing all these sexy stuff instead of the yogurt. But anyways. Oh my goodness. Before we go, can you tell us what you're currently working on, and if you can share what's coming up next for you?
So I've been doing a lot of work for the author Siobhan Davis. I've done a bunch of her books in the past, but I just finished Vengeance of the Mafia Queen. So that's another one of those dark, sexy. It's real. Narrating that one felt really good. It was very
Cathartic.
super strong female character, just taking down the jerks, and I loved it. And then another book for her called Incognito, it's very different, not mafia. This one is about a musician who goes undercover because of somebody stalking him, and then he and the central female character strike up a relationship, but she doesn't know anything about him being this famous pop star. And it's a slow burn one that when you get to the connection, ooh, it's good.
Yeah. Anything else that you can share?
I am also doing another book by Penelope Sky called Lesser Evil. This is another like alpha male, super sassy female character, and just dark underworld, the diamond trade. Yeah, it's dark. But she writes such great, strong female characters. So I love doing that kind of stuff.
Perfect. Yeah, no, we just added a bunch of other books to add to our list of books to read and listen to. So thank you. You're such an enabler.
Mm-hmm.
And we love it. Thank you. Well, thank you again so much for spending the time with me, Ramona. I really appreciate it. And it's been so much more fun getting to know you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And I will be including all your social media links in the post over at Viviana, Enchantress of Books. So everyone that has been listening to us can follow you. And for those that are attending Allure, she'll see you there, pass by the table, say hi, ask about the hubby. No, I'm just kidding. And again, thank you everyone for listening. And until next time, happy listenings.
Thank you to all of our Audiobook Lovin Podcast Patreon. Special thanks to Nixley Zenner, Carol Liebner, Brittany Robinette Leiter, Michelle Bastard,
Brandy Schmidt, April Branson.
The Audiobook Lovin Podcast has special Patreon access levels. Join today to receive benefits including early access to episodes, shout-outs, special exclusive content, and much more. Support the podcast by becoming a Patreon at www.patreon.com/audiobooklovin. We thank you for your support.
Thank you for joining us on the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. For links and more information discussed in today's episode, previous podcasts, or the Audiobook Lovin Series, please visit our website, vivianaenchantressofbooks.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a positive review wherever you listen to our podcast. Until next time, happy listening.